Video games have been in our lives since the early 50s, and since then we only have been improving the way we play, from the most basic console until the most advanced technology such as virtual reality. The consoles have been divided in generations. The first generation involved the Magnavox Odyssey and Atari Pong. The second generation was thought to make complex video games. This generation was proposed by the Atari 2600 and the Sega SG-1000. The third generation were the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, and the Sega Master System. Between fourth and fifth generation are consoles more known as the Atari Jaguar, PlayStation, and Nintendo 64. After that, the improvement just pulled into the market better things such as Sega Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2, and Xbox. After the console just become more popular like Xbox 360, the following generation of PlayStation and Nintendo Wii. Certainly, the people who create these games try to reach the whole public, so we have games for kids, for young people, for adults, and sometimes even for elders. But due to the number of users in the market, sometimes the creators release games that are questionable for the sensibility of the public. The first reason to censor a game are regional standards, which means that the specific region has established a norm that doesn't allow certain things. Of course, it is not the only reason. There are others like violence, religious references, profanity, and drug use. And even that, sexual and violent content in video games is reflected in ratings by the Entertainment Software Rating Association, an independent group, and these ratings are intended to give consumer information about content and degree of maturity of intended user. That doesn't mean that kids will be not exposed to every type of content. WhatCulture.com published a list of censored video games, and it says, censorship is a complex issue in the gaming community. It conjures images of hysterical Christian mothers burning Pikachu plushies and elderly judges furiously bringing down the band hammer of justice on any game that dares to use the word tooth. Censorship is often viewed as something that compromises the purity and expressive capability of art and suppresses the fundamental human right of self-expression and free speech. A second reason for explaining why games are censored is that violent video games played by adolescents and kids are associated with increases in psychological aggression over time. According to a Darman meta-analysis published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, Darman research conducted in meta-analysis of 24 studies from around the world. From 2010 to 2017, with over 70,000 participants, aged 9 to 19 years old. The studies all examined how violent video game playing affected changes in real world. Physical aggression over time, ranging from 3 months to 4 years. What do I think? I think video games have a lot of information that is not up to everyone. Of course, there are lots of people that do not feel offended by these kind of things. But in order to make everyone happy, there should be a version with censure and another one without the censure. Or like some developers do that create a code so people can play without the censure off. Video games, in the way I see it, are also offer more art, and art is not for censure, because it's the way of expression of the author, and I think that an artist wants his pieces to be known. Besides, the game might lose sense if the censure part is an important part of the story. Everything nowadays affects in some way the sensibility of a person, a song, a movie, a piece of art. The best way to affecting people is to reach certain public and give a warning about the contents they are about to see. Maybe parents or religious people might think twice before they buy it for their kids. These are some of the censored games of 2018. House Party. House Party is a game that involves performing various errands for a woman at a house party in order to seduce them. If you do everything right, the games reward the player with an actual pornographic cutscene. BMX XXX is a sports game developed and published by Acclaim Entertainment and released for the Xbox, PlayStation 2, and GameCube in 2002. The majority of the gameplay focuses around BMX-based action sports. However, the game, understandably, is the best known for containing nudity, full language, and adult humor. The character customization option follows for players to create avatars of either sex that are completely topless. Postal 2. Some notable features including the long list of reasons the game was banned. In the aforementioned countries was the ability to urinate on dismembered corpses at a terrorist training camp and violence toward animals. Custer Revenge. The gameplay revolves around General Custer, completely naked aside from the cavalry hat, boots, and bandana, ducking around and moving across the screen, complete with the visible erection. Custer's aim is the rich Native American woman tied to a pole and have sex with her. Monster Monkeys. The gameplay is the extreme rub system, which requires the player to stroke both sides of the Vita console on its sides in pumping motion in order to seal cards. Rubbing, poking, and touching the screens result in the character clothes being removed, from fully clothed to a skimpy bathing suit. Touching the monster girl also causes their breasts and they jingle in response. Phantasmagoria, a puzzle of flesh. Sexuality plays a major part of the game's plot, and multiple scenes include bare breasts, bondage, sadomasochism, public sex, and off-screen oral sex. Various death scenes include dismemberment and exsanguination. And finally, Manhunt 2. The 2007 sequel of Manhunt original release was so extreme it received an adults-only rating. A rating pretty much exclusively meant for pornographic games, which means it could not be sold on any console. This effectively banned it from being sold full stop.